Number 6. The dire wolf. If evolution had a sense of humor, this would be its masterpiece, the dire wolf Aenesion dirus, the original angry dog. For over a century, scientists thought it was just a pumped-up gray wolf, same species, just hitting the Ice Age gym. Then 2021 dropped the plot twist they weren't even wolves. Genetically, the dire wolf and the gray wolf are about as related as humans and chimps. 13,000 years ago, these beasts ruled the Americas. Each one outweighed modern wolves by a quarter, packed with muscle and jaws that could crush horse bones or a bison if dinner got fancy. Thousands of their fossils were found in the La Brea tar pits, where entire packs charged into sticky chaos and never made it out. Prehistory's version of all you can eat, but nobody leaves. DNA revealed dire wolves split from gray wolves 5.7 million years ago. While gray wolves roamed Asia and Europe, dire wolves evolved solo in the Americas, an isolated bloodline that couldn't mix with any other. If gray wolves were the noble aristocrats of nature, dire wolves were the Ice Age's Florida men, loud, reckless, and always starving. Imagine the wolves from Game of Thrones minus the CGI fur muscle and attitude 1 to 100% real. If the gray wolf is nature's Tesla, the dire wolf was the diesel pickup built to bite, not glide. When the Ice Age ended and the megafauna disappeared, the dire wolf stayed behind in evolution's game 1 with no retry button. One day it was king, the next a fossil in a museum. Proof that in nature survival doesn't belong to the strongest, only to those who keep updating their software. Number 5. The Four-Tusked Elephant. You've probably heard of Airavata Indra's mythical white elephant that brings rain and sports 4 tusks. Sounds like a bedtime story, right? Except this one might have started with something real. A prehistoric elephant called Gomphotherium. Imagine an elephant the size of a modern Asian one, but with 2 extra tusks jutting from its lower jaw, turning its face into a biological backhoe. For years, scientists thought it used its 4-tusk toolkit to shovel mud for food. Then chemical studies said otherwise. This guy was a forest laborer using its lower tusks to strip bark, dig roots, and snap branches, basically a prehistoric Swiss Army face. And here's where science and legend shook hands. In the hills of Siwalik, ancient people kept finding fossils of elephants with 4 tusks. Without the concept of extinction, they did what humans always do, turned confusion into mythology. To them, this wasn't some random forest elephant. This was the rainmaker of the gods. Airavata was born lightning, thunder, and a dash of divine rebranding. If Airavata was Indra's divine supercar, Gomphotherium was the early prototype, same model, less marketing. Half animal, half myth, and pure Ice Age Mythbusters material. From a humble worker elephant's bones, humans sculpted a symbol of power, weather, and worship. Just goes to show sometimes all it takes to make a god is a weird-looking fossil and a good imagination. Number 4. The Mapinguari. Deep in the Amazon, locals whisper about a foul-smelling 2-meter-tall guardian of the forest, the Mapinguari. Picture a creature wrapped in shag carpet fur, roaring loud enough to make jaguars rethink their career choices. Some legends even add a single cyclops eye and a mouth on its belly, basically Bigfoot meets Frankenstein. People called him the forest's bodyguard, Greenpeace, but with a stench. The truth, he was probably the Ice Age's slowest heavyweight Megatherium, the giant ground sloth. 4 tons of muscle, 12 feet tall, and too lazy to care. Fossils show humans actually crossed paths with them, meaning hunter versus monster. Wasn't myth just a really bad day in prehistory? Centuries later, ancient Amazonians found giant skulls with bowl-sized nasal holes and thought, that's an eye socket. The mouth on its stomach, probably a rib cage gone rogue in the imagination. Skin that can't be pierced. That part's true. Megatherium had bony armor plates under its hide, turning it into a 4-ton furry tank. The backward feet, just evolution's way of saying, this dude doesn't jog. If Megatherium was the chill vegetarian of the Ice Age, Mapinguari was its PR reboot, half Bigfoot, half Cyclops, and entirely unbathed. Imagine those two swapping stories around a campfire 10,000 years later. Boom, new monster unlocked. Maybe Mapinguari never existed, but the story sure did. Proof that humans may forget facts, but never a good tale. Mythology isn't a lie, it's history rewritten by imagination. Okay, if you made it this far, you're officially one of us. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so the video climbs the YouTube algorithm and we can continue our series of weird creatures. Number 3. The Griffin. On one side, you've got the Griffin, part lion, part eagle, all attitude. On the other, the Host's eagle, a real bird so big it hunted 400-pound moa. One lived in Greek art, the other lived in New Zealand nightmares. The Griffin first showed up 4,000 years before Christ, half lion, king of the land, half eagle, king of the sky. together king of everything. In Greek mythology, they guarded gold for Zeus, basically divine mall cops. Then, archaeologists noticed something. Ancient nomads around Scythia also found fossils of Protoceratops, a dinosaur with a beak and a four-legged body. They probably looked at that and thought, yep, slap on some wings, we've got ourselves a griffin. Sure, Scythia was a bit far from the Gobi Desert, but let's be honest, the griffin didn't need GPS or accuracy. It was born from humanity's oldest hobby, combining everything awesome into one overpowered creature. In short, the world's first fan art. Meanwhile, in New Zealand, the Host's eagle didn't need myth, it was already the boss fight of nature. 40 pounds of flying muscle, 10-foot wingspan, and claws the size of tiger paws. It didn't guard treasure, it guarded dinner, usually giant moa, sometimes unlucky humans. If the griffin was Zeus's ride, the Host's eagle was the Mount of Nightmare. Ironically, the fake one still lives on in textbooks, while the real one went extinct barely 165 years after humans showed up. Maybe myths live longer simply because they don't have to deal with us. Because if history proves anything, it's this: humans are great at hunting, especially when the prey is survival itself. Number 2. Kappa. In Japanese folklore, the Kappa is nature's weirdest multi-tool, part serial killer, part chiropractor. It's usually described as a child-sized swamp creature with slimy green skin, a turtle shell, and a magic water bowl on its head that powers all its tricks. Here's the funny part: if you bow to it, it politely bows back, spilling the water and instantly losing its strength. The most polite murder monster ever invented. The Kappa has two modes: evil and helpful. In evil mode, it drags people underwater and steals a mythical soul orb that, for reasons no one wants to discuss, lives up your exit hatch. Don't Google it. In helpful mode, it pops dislocated joints back into place, teaches medicine, and happily devours cucumbers. In fact, cucumber rolls Kappa Maki were named after it. Scientists think the whole legend started with real sightings of Japan's giant salamander, an actual animal big enough to make you yell yokai if it brushed past your leg at night. But if Kappa was the polite river-sized horror story, then 70 million years ago, its prehistoric ocean cousin was the real deal. Archelon iskyros, the super turtle. This thing was 15 feet long, weighed over 2 tons, and looked like a family sedan with flippers. Its shell wasn't the usual hard dome. It was thick, leathery skin stretched over bone, basically a prehistoric Kevlar vest. If Kappa was the sushi-loving pacifist, Archelon was the Kappa gym bro, same vibe, different diet. Instead of cucumbers, it crushed seashells with a hooked beak sharp enough to make a sushi knife jealous. One needed you to bow before it could win, the other just bit once and deleted your existence. So yeah, the Kappa might make you nervous about swimming in rivers, but Archelon once made the entire ocean move out of its way. One was myth with manners, the other was reality that didn't bother saying sorry before lunch. Because let's be honest, the scariest monsters aren't the ones we dream up, they're the ones evolution actually tried. Number 1. The Bloop. In 1997, someone or something basically hit unmute on the South Pacific. A deep, thunderous sound echoed across the ocean, so loud it was picked up 3,000 miles away. Scientists at NOAA named it simply the Bloop. Problem was, it sounded alive, organic, and way louder than a blue whale, which already weighs more than your house. Naturally, the internet did what it does best: panic, but with Wi-Fi. Forums exploded. Was it a sea monster? Did Cthulhu just wake up? Especially since the coordinates were suspiciously close to Relaya, the fictional city, where Lovecraft said that big squid-faced nightmare was taking a nap. If Twitter had existed, number free Cthulhu would have been trending by dinner. But in 2005, NOAA crushed everyone's dreams. Sorry, no monster. It was just ice. Yup, an icequake. A massive Antarctic iceberg splitting apart and screaming like nature's own DJ remix. Not a beast. Just the planet cracking under heat and pressure, basically yelling, "Hey idiots, I'm melting here. Still want a real ocean monster." Meet Leadsichthys problematicus, the largest bony fish that ever lived. 50 feet long, 45 tons, and 40,000 teeth, which it used not to kill but to filter plankton. Essentially the world's biggest salad eater. The ultimate gym bro who went vegan. So no, the Bloop wasn't the sound of Cthulhu rising. It was the sound of Earth sighing one big, sad, melting exhale. And Leadsichthys proof that huge doesn't always mean deadly. Sometimes you're just a gentle giant who history miscast as a monster. Because in the end, the only thing truly terrifying isn't what's under the ocean, it's the climate bill waiting on the surface. Bloop. So here we are, welcome to Beats Lore, where we decode the weirdest prehistoric stories that science has ever said it can't be true. If you just watched the Kappa being so polite it weakened itself, or the Bloop turning out to be just the Earth's groan. Trust me, what's coming next is even crazier. Which top list would you like us to make next time? A. Top deep sea monsters that ever existed. B. Top creatures with the most weird evolutionary designs. C. Top ancient fossils that defy all biological theories. Type A, B, or C+. A reason in the comments below. We'll read them all and include your choice in the next ranking. Like, subscribe, and bell, so you don't miss the next one where creatures once made nature wonder, what did I just create?